Hey guys, on here we'll be checking out New Rockstar's latest breakdown for The Suicide Squad. As you know, it is on HBO Max right now. It is in theaters. I got my review up on it on the channel right now. So if you haven't checked that out, I like the film. But you can go check that out for more detail. I'll link it right up here in the top so you guys can check that out if you want. But I'm curious to see what all good old Eric Voss over New Rockstars was actually able to pull from the film. I didn't catch too many Easter eggs. I caught a couple here and there throughout the film, but I really wasn't looking for them, to be honest, throughout the movie. I was just really swept up in everything that was going on. So I'm really curious. There's probably a whole lot of things that I missed throughout the film. So let's give it up for Eric here over at New Rockstars. If you're not subscribed to these guys, please go check them out. I will have links to this video and their channel in the description. So feel free to go check them out. But let's go ahead and see what we got.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, a thrilling bloodbath on an island of broken toys. From the gory visual details to the music to the DC Easter eggs and cameos, I'm gonna break down this film scene by scene to appreciate the deeper reasons why this movie feels like such a redemption. And to celebrate The Suicide Squad, we have some new merch. Our latest obsession,
Anti-hero club
design. We also got this awesome King Shark shirt, which is of course an homage to the classic Jaws poster.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
A whole bunch of different colors for these, and a brand new nerdy streetwear hoodie, and more stuff on the way. So check out these Suicide Squad exclusives at newrockstarsmerch.com. So the film opens on Savant, a lesser-known DC villain played here by Michael Rooker, who worked alongside James Gunn in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, along with Sean Gunn and Sylvester Stallone, who voices King Shark. Here, Gunn frames Savant reflected in a grimy puddle at first, which is similar to the murky water he ends up bleeding out into. The music we hear is Folsom Prison Blues, Johnny Cash's anthem for the incarcerated, giving some hope for redemption and others accepting that they are beyond it, much like the characters of this film. And such is the case for Savant here, who cruelly kills a bird. Trigger warning here if you love birds like I do.
Yeah. Definitely set the tone for the film right there.
The music shifts from stereo in the mix of the movie to diegetic in the scene.
Yeah.
So we're leaving Savant's escapist fantasy of freedom, symbolized by the bird, to death in captivity, just like how Savant will die a prisoner. The doctor who implants a detonator chip is played by John Ostrander, writer of the Suicide Squad comics.
I didn't know that during, but I knew that afterwards.
Film, really the reason why this movie can exist. Rick Flag returns in the 2016 Suicide Squad, which this movie is kind of a soft reboot of. We're bringing back Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, Amanda Waller, and Captain Boomerang, but no one else. However, this movie doesn't erase anything that happened in the DC films prior, and I would argue celebrates the best parts of those movies.
Yeah.
So joining Flag's group is Boomerang, as well as TDK, an adaptation of the one-joke character
Mr. Pibb.
Armball Off Boy, Javelin, a Green Lantern villain, Mongal, an alien warrior and daughter to Superman villain Mongul, Blackguard, aka Richard or Dick Hertz, who's a villain to Booster Gold, and Weasel, played by Sean Gunn in motion capture. Weasel's bright blue eyes appear to be distorted, askew versions of Sean Gunn's baby blues. And of course, Harley Quinn.
What are you doing back in prison house?
I got road rage in a bank.
Now, the 2016 film ended with Jared Leto Joker freeing Harley from prison, but Birds of Prey established that they had broken up. And notice how her jacket now reads Live Fast Die Clown, replacing her jacket in the 2016 film that read Property of the Joker, just a cool way of reflecting her new independence from him. Similarly, her shoulder tattoo that previously read Property of the Joker now reads Property of No One. Savant's rap sheet lists vigilantism, kidnapping, extortion, destruction of property, attempted homicide, and production of illegal weapons. Mongal's lists her as alien, and lists mass homicide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, destruction of property, aiding and abetting, and threatening an official. And I love how all of Waller's aides take bets on who's gonna die first, just like we all did the first time we saw it.
It reminds me of like a Cabin in the Woods.
Your name is letters? All names are letters, dickhead.
Similar joke to the one in Infinity War.
That's a made-up word.
Who was made up?
Which was a line written by Taika Waititi for that film, the same guy who later delivers the core theme of this film as the original Ratcatcher. Harley loves Javelin's German accent.
American women all love accents.
We do, because we don't got none.
Margot Robbie is of course Australian.
her
She is
own.
doing a heavy Brooklyn accent as Harley here. Now Weasel seems to drown.
The weasel is dead! I repeat, the weasel is dead!
Yeah, notice how on Economos' screen, he only now marks Weasel in red, basing it on Savant's call, not when he actually would have expired moments earlier in the water. This explains how they considered this character dead, despite his later survival in the post-credit scene. And by the way, in that moment, he rises under a full moon, calling back Blackguard's misplaced fear that he was a werewolf. Harcourt's screen makes it seem like TDK's attack is going to be epic and clear the beach, like Yondu's Yakaero, but instead they just slowly
Loved
their
this,
way,
man.
normal human walking speed, up the beach
Slap,
to just
slap,
pester
slap.
the soldiers. Yeah, this is the moment that the tide really turns in this battle, and they start dying off one by one. And Flag and Harley realize that their group was set up to be a
Boomerang.
diversion so that the other group could take the lead in the mission. Savant's head forms the title, a trick that James Gunn uses throughout this film, kind of a visual equivalent of making music diegetic, making something that normally is cinematically expository, instead coming from within the scene. And of course, Team 2 is Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, King Shark, and Polka Dot Man. All villains are anti-heroes of ranging notoriety in the DC world. On Economos' screen, TDK is listed in critical condition, so not dead yet. And on Savant's corpse, another yellow bird shows up, avenging the one he killed. So Waller blackmails Bloodsport with his daughter's legal troubles.
A style watch.
A stylage?
A style watch. You can watch TV on it.
Yeah, he thought she said star latch. And ironically, that is what he has to face by the end of the movie, a latching star fish. Bloodsport and Peacemaker bicker over hitting a target more center than the other.
I use smaller bullets. What? They go inside your bullet holes without even touching the side.
This is exactly what Bloodsport does to Peacemaker in their final duel. King Shark reads his book. This is The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James, a psychological study that looks at commonalities in different religions across traditions. They use King Shark's original name in this movie, Nananoe, and Waller says that people believe he was the descendant of an ancient shark god. Maybe Nananoe was given this book to see if there is any cross-cultural validity to his divinity. But then again, he doesn't know what he's reading it upside down. They pass this female inmate. This is actually Kaleidoscope.
Yeah, I was like, she's got to be somebody. I was like, but I couldn't remember the name.
There's a photo of her father in the cell. So Taika was actually with us in this movie since the beginning. She's always sleeping in this movie, which is a fun character quirk. But she later says,
I was having the most wonderful dream.
I like to think she could be dreaming about her old man, and then she sleeps all the time in order to keep him fresh in her memory. Sean Gunn also cameos as Calendar Man, a DC villain, arguably
I noticed
best
that one.
known for his Hannibal Lecter style role in Batman: The Long Halloween.
I mean,
The
how
red
could
one
you
is
not
this
really?
guy with the ace tattoo. This is Double Down, a villain to the Flash. His face is scarred because a mysteriously cursed deck of cards scarred his skin, allowing him to detach the cards from his body and then use them to slice people. Corto Maltese.
Yeah, I
is
didn't
an
get a
island
good look at
nation
that guy. I was
in the DC world
distracted
that
by
appears in
Calendar
The Dark
Man.
Knight
Pretty
Returns.
hardcore
So
there.
play Superman is sent on a mission, and then the USSR nukes it. But this place also showed up in Tim Burton's Batman. It's the place Vicky Vale went on assignment. The name of the fortress is Jotunheim, which in Norse mythology is the home of the giants and the frost giants. You'll know it from the Marvel world as home realm of Loki. But in the DC comics, it is a fortress that was built by Nazis, but in a different country of Kurak, fictional Middle Eastern country, and Jotunheim was destroyed by Rick Flag in the first Suicide Squad mission. Waller explains how a military coup executed the whole ruling Herrera family, and you can notice how behind the father's hanging body, you can see the feet of a toppled statue that probably would have been his grandfather or great-grandfather, destroyed when this coup took place. As Bloodsport's team hikes through the jungle, the framing initially hides Polka Dot Man mostly behind Nananoe in order to delay the reveal of his glowing rash, but you do see him glowing very briefly, very subtly on the beach at the start of the hike. But then of course later, when he gets engorged with them and he has to vomit them out, the few that float away burn the nearby plants. Just a little tease of how incendiary these things are when they're used. Waller orders Bloodsport to rescue Rick Flag.
Rick Flag?
I know, you both served on
Special forces in Iraq that took down Avro Kadam.
Again, correct, that fictional DC country. And Avro Kadam is a general who overtook the country in some Deathstroke comics. And yeah, interesting here in the scene, a few crew people were left visible in the background. Oopsie. So they raid the camp and they slaughter friendly militants.
I
Polka Dot
love
Man
this back and
collapses
forth.
The watchtower and knows how one of the dots burns a hole through the guy's chest, and Peacemaker's pacifist dove icon is appropriately stained with the blood of his victims. Now, online shopping is basically the only shopping, and that's where today's sponsor, Honey, comes in. Honey is
Sorry, honey, we moving on
see some
along.
archive footage of astronauts with Starro. Starro is a longtime DC parasitic hive mind who has plagued the Justice League, actually a mechanized version version of Starro showed up
Yep.
in the Snyder Cut.
Well,
Notice how
kinda,
the
yeah.
astronauts immaturely pose pretending to smoke, and they give these thumbs up? They're evoking the infamous Abu Ghraib prison torture photos. In the footage, after feeding on the consciousnesses of 3 hosts, Starro has grown noticeably larger, explaining its gigantic size after latching onto thousands of Corto Maltesians. Luna courts Harley Quinn in a kind of Evita scenario, but really as a further FU to the United States. But notice how this romantic montage switches suddenly from the surreal back to the real. Again, the switch to diegetic music reflects the return to reality. Harley ends up killing Luna out of a promise to herself to kill any boyfriend who gave off red flags, referencing her growth from her past toxic relationship with the Joker. Polka Dot Man explains how his dots are an interdimensional virus.
My mother was a scientist at Star Labs, and she was obsessed with turning me and my brothers and sisters into superheroes.
Star Labs, of course, is a recurring facility in the DC world. It's where Cyborg's father, Silas Stone, works and shows up in the Flash a lot. And he reveals that he sees his mother everywhere.
No.
My favorite shot of the film, especially
Oh, great.
the shark pawing at the butterfly. But also, look at that. Sebastian the rat is also turned
Oh, wow.
wearing the mother's glasses.
I didn't even
Flag
notice
changes
that.
into a shirt with a cartoon rabbit holding a sign that translates to "Obstacles are opportunities," which you might interpret as a nod to James Gunn turning his temporary firing from Disney into this wonderful opportunity to revitalize the DCEU. Waller references playing golf with Senator Cray.
Think that rabbit's
nod
supposed to
to
be
Senator
a
Joseph
poke
Cray
at
from
Mickey.
Ostrander Suicide Squad, who sold government contracts. And when Economos asks her if she'd really harm Bloodsport's daughter, she says,
You don't know half of what I would do, John.
maybe referring to the 2016 film when she offs pretty much all of her aides.
She would
making
dunk
this
her in
a kind of
acid if
threat
she
to
had
them.
to.
Cleo and
She's fucked up,
Bloodsport
man.
share
Amanda
some
Waller's
memories of
like
their fathers.
If I didn't finish a task right,
Crazy.
you would dole out the punishment.
Yeah, notice how Peacemaker smirks here. Waller did say that both of them were trained from a young age to be killers by their dads, and the Peacemaker spin-off series that the second post-credit scene sets up will feature Robert Patrick as his father, Augie. They arrive at the La Gatita
Robert
Amaple,
Patrick,
and as
man.
Peacemaker enters, he bumps into
Agent
this old man.
Doggett.
This is a cameo by director Lloyd Kaufman, James Gunn's mentor from his days at Troma Studios. Kaufman also cameoed as a Kiln prisoner in Guardians of the Galaxy, and dancing on stage in red is a cameo by Palm Clemente, who plays Mantis.
Yeah, I missed that completely.
The dancers around him as his mother.
Oh
and I love
my
how they
God.
keep the blue-tipped beard on the one on the left. And major props, by the way, to actress Lynn Ash for selling 11 distinct versions of the dancing mom. Now, Bloodsport surrenders himself and Flag and Peacemaker over to the authorities, knowing from his and Flag's shared combat experience and Peacemaker's similar upbringing that the 3 of them probably all know the Death's Touch maneuver. Then, as they drive in to save Harley, Bloodsport makes fun of Peacemaker's helmet, calling it a toilet seat.
It's not a toilet seat, it's a beacon of freedom.
Remember, when we first met Bloodsport, he was cleaning the prison toilet seat, so really he was dissing Peacemaker's shiny helmet while complimenting his own skills at scrubbing something so good until it's that shiny. The guy torturing Harley Quinn responds to the text reading, "What are you doing?" with emojis indicating he is electrocuting a woman in a red dress with brings him joy. Now, the music that plays over Harley's escape is a mix of Just a Gigolo and I Ain't Got Nobody, the song that she was singing before. So now that it's playing in the audio mix, we're back in Harley's subjective point of view. So all of her kills are seen as super stylized, with all this surrealism taking the form of flowers and animated creatures, similar to how she would envision herself as Marilyn Monroe in Birds of Prey. You can see some cartoon rabbits spinning around her, and the birds that were following her are now a little scared of her. They hide behind the pillar as she exits. Even outside in the cab, the animation continues out of focus in the hallway back inside. So they brief the Thinker.
We fail the mission, you die.
We find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
What? No.
Remember in Suicide Squad, Mr. J had personalized plates. So another example of how
Might be a
Harley
red
hates
flag
anything
then.
associated with him. They make it into the
her.
Jotunheim Tower, and you see German words line the walls. You see Die Karte de Betunft, or the map of reason, and then later in another angle, Die Taten aller Menschen, or the actions of all humanity. I'm not certain, but since this tower was built by the Nazis, I'm assuming this is part of some sweeping progress-focused justification of their cruel human experimentation. And they find the horror show below with all these Starro drones and test subjects, and the Thinker reveals that this was an American-funded operation. And now when we see the NASA astronauts, the red, white, and blue of the flag patch is more saturated than it was in the footage before, recalling the huge flag in the opening minutes of this movie, reframing the whole mission as one to preserve America. Flag and Peacemaker fight over whether to release the hard drive to the public and the press.
No,
Gunn shoots
this.
this fight in the reflection of the helmet. I love this shot because somehow they kept the camera from appearing in the reflection, which is probably a mix of camera blocking, but also the helmet design, the way it was curved, but also probably a bit of VFX in there. Milton dies. Oh, and Bloodsport and Harley tragically barely remember him as being part of the group, which is super messed up because he just held the door open behind him for Harley to follow. The charges blow early, and when Nanawe's new friends attack him, bloody water gushes up, which is just like how it looked when the Great White was the attacker in the movie Jaws. And down below, he attacks the soldiers, biting off one's head, and is later seen gnawing the rest of the flesh off his skull. Bloodsport aristocats down the floors of the collapsing tower just in time to save Cleo with smaller bullets. Now, Giant Starro's rise from the debris is nuts, but I love how Gunn leans into the insanity with the Scott Pilgrim style title
man.
text. Starro and all of its hosts scream at
See,
them,
those
just
things,
like scream
like
in
that
original
look, it
Fox
reminded me
Adventures.
of,
And Bloodsport finally steps up as a leader, as Amanda Waller promised she would turn him into, but actually
the Dalek
in this case,
hybrid
in
and the,
spite of
in
what
Doctor
Waller wants
Who.
him to do in this moment. He helps Polka Dot Man see Starro as his mom. It's him to burn off one of its legs to immobilize it, but he dies a superhero, just like how back in the briefing room he said he wanted to die on this mission. Bloodsport fights through
but
the
he had
infected,
growth.
and he
I want
pulls
him
off
back.
pieces of his armor bit by bit to turn them into weapons until he runs out. A cool way of reflecting his character, stripping away his armor to become more vulnerable. Cleo beacons thousands of rats with composer John Murphy's amazing track called Ratism, as this also becomes a baptism for Bloodsport as the rats wash over him. And the music uses a children's choir, giving these rats a deeper humanity. Harley uses Javelin to spear Starro's eye, but really it's the rats who bring it down by gnawing at the nerve tissue. Though really, Starro's final words are pretty tragic.
I was happy, floating, staring at the stars.
Just a reminder that even Starro was once a lowly, innocent creature who was dragged into this fight by the real enemy.
I was
cruel,
just a
uncaring
Pokemon
government
once.
interests. The final shot recalls James Gunn's shot of Drax in the closing moments of Guardians of the Galaxy when Drax pet Rocket to console him. But whereas that moment was about Rocket finally allowing someone else to connect with him, this is about the broken loner allowing himself to show compassion. I went deeper into this closing imagery and the post-credit scenes in a whole other video. Go check that out. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, man. That was a good one. Good one.
Thanks
Good
for
one.
watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, a lot of it, like, definitely was stuff I wouldn't have caught because, like, from the director cameos, some of the musical cues, I definitely didn't catch the card dude. I already forgot his name, or Kaleidoscope. I saw Kaleidoscope, but I was like, God damn it, fuck, what's her name? I don't remember. But yeah, Calendar Man, that was just an easy, obvious one. Notice that was Sean Gunn too. Yeah, a lot of key little details in there, a lot of little hidden camera angles, just showing just how much attention to detail Gunn has throughout everything, really. You know, I don't know, man. I loved it, man. I had a lot of fun with the movie. I'm definitely planning on watching it again. It was a joy, man. It was a joy. I don't know, man. I don't really have anything else to say that I haven't said already. This didn't really provoke too much additional conversation for me, unfortunately. I'm just trying to think. Because, yeah, I think the only other thing that, like, when the Starro, like, when the little stars were over the people's faces and all you could see is the mouth, it just reminded me, and the way he talks even reminded me of the Dalek human hybrid that was created in the two-parter of Doctor Who with David Tennant, Daleks in New York. The way he looked and talked, obviously, because he had a giant singular eye, and then his mouth is just like very, what's the word? It had like a very specific type of movement to it, which is really unique to it. So it just reminded me of that. On top of Peter Capaldi being in here, one thing he didn't point out in there is this: Peter Capaldi's thinker is like, was it Geist Graves or whatever his name was in this, which is not a thinker at all. This has not been used as a previous alias of the thinker prior to this film. I know he was inspired by the New 52 thinker, which, for all we know, has not been given a name. Because the one that the most notable thinker, of course, I think, is Clifford DeVoe. But yeah, I think he was more inspired by the New 52 from what I remember reading. But Geist Graves isn't the known name of anybody in DC, like the DC comics. So like I was like, I had to look that up after the movie came out too. I was like, I've never heard of this guy, this alias. So I looked it up and it was like, yeah, it's only referenced in this movie, and but he's inspired by the Nameless Thinker from the New 52. So this is maybe their way of giving that thinker a name, or who knows? This is just this is the DCEU's thinker. It's not Clifford DeVoe, but it's Geis Graves. And he was great. I wish, again, another character I wish didn't go out the way they did, because I just love seeing Peter Capaldi in anything, and I wish we could see him again. Similarly with David Dastmalchian, I really wish he could have stuck around. Boomerang, that made me sad when he went down, man. Everybody else I could care less about. Rick Flag, man, his death really hit me. It was just, man, pulled at my heartstrings for a lot of these characters, man. I got attached when I knew I shouldn't have. I think the only character I knew 100% wasn't going to die was Harley, but I think everybody else was pretty much fair game, because I thought that it had been said at one point that Peacekeeper was going to be a prequel. Maybe I remembered that wrong, so that's why I was like, okay, he's dead. But then, of course, the post-credit scene came along, so maybe it'll be a little mix and match of both, obviously, because Robert Patrick's going to be in there as his father, which I'm excited to see, man. The T-1000, Agent Doggett, if you're an X-Files fan, that's or what was it, Kogashuko from Double Dragon. Man, I love me some Robert Patrick. But guys, yeah, what'd you think? Is there anything that you missed? I was surprised to see they didn't mention the Thinker stuff at all, because like that adaptation, or not that version of the character and whatnot. I mean, the other stuff, like the small stuff, like with Karak and stuff like that, yeah, I definitely missed all that. The general name, like the names of the general, that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, what about you guys? Anything you caught throughout the film that you liked? What was your favorite detail that was brought up in this? What did you think of the movie? What were some of your favorite moments? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. If you want to carry it in the Discord, come join the Discord. Links to that and all my socials in the description of this video. But before we go, I do want to shout out our channel legends: Mandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane. Thank you guys, as always, for your support. But guys, that's it for this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.